Miss Earth 2024 may not have had the best production this year, but their winning answers. Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Nikita, a former beauty queen and now a pageant coach and content creator. And in today's video, I'm going to be covering the Miss Earth Top 8 question and answer round. And despite what everybody's been saying about the production value of pageants like Miss Earth and Miss International, I feel that they do deserve the due credit considering the quality of the contestants and also the focus on providing contestants opportunities to be able to showcase their value, their personal brand, and what they have to offer to the table. On 9th of November, Miss Earth Australia was crowned as Miss Earth 2024 in Manila in Philippines, and she has to be one of the most well-spoken queens at Miss Earth that I have observed right from the day she arrived, and even especially during the intelligence and awareness round. Miss Earth Australia Jessica Lane had definitely made her mark and was one of the contestants that everybody was rooting for and also predicting to win the competition, and she did exactly that. She mesmerized the judges with her words, and her winning answer is something that we can all learn a little something from. And so today I want to discuss the unique format of the Miss Earth Top 8 question and answer round and what are my take on it and what suggestions I would give to a contestant in the same position. So the interesting thing about the format of Miss Earth 2024 is that for the top 8, instead of there being questions, there were more like topics and words were given to the contestants that they have to speak about, which means that it's a very open-ended question of sorts. You can choose to go into an inspirational direction. You can choose to provide a solution to what the word and a problem is talking about, or you could just talk about your own opinions on it. And so it can be quite tricky to decide which approach to take in certain questions. But as a coach, I know of a few foolproof methods that can guarantee that no matter the word, you will have impactful phrases to say. And I teach that inside my online course for interview preparation, Impact and Inspire. If this is something that you struggle with and you want to be able to wow the judges with your interview skills at your next pageant, then click on the link in the description and check out my free masterclass on interview strategies and also the online course that I offer. During the top 8, we started with the first country of Dominican Republic, and her word was bashers. Now, during the competition, this was further explained to her. Bashers is also synonymous with haters or people who just tend to troll or cancel people online. And now it's such a buzzword, and that is a pattern that I noticed throughout all of the words that were given to the top 8 contestants. Just all very trending and relevant keywords, especially to be able to deliver a message that impacts the young generation of today, something that Miss Earth as an organization also focuses on. And so Dominican Republic had a pretty short and simple answer, and she said that she doesn't pay attention to haters and bashers, and she chooses and prioritizes to keep love in her heart. While I do think that it was a good answer, and if you ever have a question related to haters, negative comments, or even just simply rumors about yourself, the best approach for a beauty queen is to simply not pay attention to any of those things. However, I did feel that she could have perhaps elaborated, given that she did have additional time to speak, and have talked about how we can actually help and empathize with the people who are hating on strangers online. She could have used a certain quote like, hurt people hurt, and how by choosing to keep love in her heart, what is the action plan that she would suggest in order to reduce the negativity in the world in general. And so that's just an enhancement that I was hoping to see in her answer. The next country in the lineup was Puerto Rico, and her word was attitude. Now, Puerto Rico definitely struggled, and I think it was clear to me that she wasn't going to make it to the top 4 simply because of it felt like there was a lack of preparation in her answer. And oftentimes with lack of preparation, what happens is in that moment, the contestant is not able to pick a direction to go with and then stick with that route that you've chosen. In my opinion, there were so many things that we could have talked about when it comes to attitude. Having an articulation toolkit, a technique that I talk about inside my online course for interview prep, Impact and Inspire, would have been the perfect solution to be able to ace this round that was given to top 8, because if you had an articulation toolkit for the keyword attitude, you could have talked about how you can change your circumstances by changing your attitude. You could have taken this whole speech into a very positive, inspiring, motivating direction. You could have also said something like, motivation decides what we do, but attitude decides how we do it. And so having such phrases inside your articulation toolkit can be a game changer in your pageant. And I wish that Puerto Rico had something like that in her vocabulary bank so that she wouldn't have struggled as much. The next country in the lineup was USA, and USA's word was family. I instantly felt that USA is going to knock this out of the park, and she definitely did. So the theme for Miss Earth this year was heritage, and what USA did was very smartly connect those two data points and personalize her answer by talking about her multicultural background and how America welcoming her and her family when they immigrated here is a family value of USA that she, as a country's representative, plans to bring worldwide. So spot on. USA is an amazing speaker, and not just does she connect the answer back to what her story and her brand is, but she also brought in the theme of Miss Earth competition this year, which was a very smart move. I have to say, throughout the show, I was definitely enjoying watching the host, because he is very charming and very fun, and definitely made watching the show very enjoyable. The next country was Peru, and her word was war. If you're a pageant contestant watching this video right now, I want you to be taking notes and making a list of these keywords that were being asked at the Miss Earth competition this year. Not just is it important to prepare questions and practice interviews, but also it's nice to be aware of what kind of topics are being spoken about and are contestants being asked to speak on inside pageants. And so if this is happening in 2024, for this year and for the next year, a lot of these keywords might just be useful ideas that you want to prepare on and be able to speak about in general in conversations. And so with so much going on in the world, war is an evident buzzword that was expected at this competition. Now, Peru said that war has ruined humanity and that we should strive for union rather than war. I like the answer. Again, just like Puerto Rico, it's very simple, but I also would call this a very default and basic answer. I do wish that she said something more memorable considering the times that we are living in. A few ideas that I would suggest if someone had to speak about war is you could talk about how there is no glory in war worth the blood that it costs. And so something like that would have also addressed the impact and the consequences of war. And I feel like Peru did not really address the gravity of the situation through her answer, even though she did point towards prioritizing union, but that felt more like a peace-oriented pageant patty-ish answer personally to me. And I was hoping that she would say something that felt more courageous, especially with the wars that are happening right now. The next keyword that was given is artificial intelligence. This word and topic is so commonly heard these days and is asked about almost at every single pageant this year, and I'm expecting the same for 2025 as well. And the country that got it was Cabo Verde. Now, she started by saying that AI has been developing for a lot of years and it helps us protect our planet. And I see why she wanted to kind of connect AI with obviously the theme of the Miss Earth competition. But with her answer, what I felt is that she had been using words like stuff, like this, and she also went over time, and it felt like there was really no strategy in place. While she started off with a bunch of pointers, they never really all coincided and concluded as to what the point of her story was. Where was she really going with this? And again, AI is being such a common topic. It was not the most unexpected keyword, I would say. What I would have liked for Cabo Verde to say is AI is not going to destroy the planet, but irresponsible human intelligence will. That is, if a contestant chooses to go in a direction where they're talking about how AI has the potential to be a tool if used right. In fact, something as simple as saying that AI is a tool and the choice to how it gets deployed on our planet is completely ours would also have summarized the answer beautifully. And so, what I felt is even though pageants do not necessarily need you to be an expert on AI, it is a good idea to have an overall general overview and enough knowledge on AI and sentences within your articulation toolkit for you to be able to talk about it, because there is a pretty high chance it will be asked at your next pageant. The next country that came up was Miss Earth Australia, and I loved the way she chose to address the keyword given to her. Her word was popularity. Again, something like family, which is very open ended. The genius of Miss Earth Australia shows in the fact in how she connected popularity to her advocacy project, Dress for Tomorrow. Now, of course, Dress for Tomorrow is focused on sustainable clothing, but what Jessica managed to do is she talked about how in order for us to chase popularity and to go after fads of what celebrities are wearing, a lot of us forget about our responsibility towards the planet. That connection that she made was simply blew my mind. And she talked about picking a strategy. She says if each of us cares about less popularity and focuses on inner beauty, we can help the earth. She managed to finish her answer just in time, and it was just enough information for her to have talked about popularity, her perspective on that word, and also giving a solution and a message for the viewers and the audience to follow, which is something we're looking for in a beauty queen. The next keyword was Gen Z. Now, this definitely sounded pretty tricky to me because Gen Z as a keyword, as a topic to speak about, can stump a lot of contestants. Iceland managed to do a decent job here. She started by defining Gen Z, something I felt wasn't necessary in this answer, but also bought her time to put her thoughts together. And then she started talking about what she would teach Gen Z. She said she would teach them that sustainability can be fun and effective. It was short and simple and to the point, which I really liked. One thing I did notice about Iceland is that she was very fast paced. It seemed as if she was running and out of breath. And also, she ended up finishing her answer well before the time limit. So it felt like she didn't need to necessarily rush so much. And for the judges, what happens is, even though maybe that's just your way and natural pace of speaking, to a judge, that can come across as lack of confidence. However, I will give it to Iceland that despite the speed of her speech, her message was still very concise and spoke about the topic Gen Z beautifully, and I liked the direction in which she took it. And the last keyword was money. Russia got this keyword, and she said that she centered around the importance of money and how often we think we'll leave all this money behind for our children. But what is truly important is the family, the values, and our responsibility towards the next generation. And that's how she was able to talk about how we need to care less about our wealth and more about the planet that we are leaving for our children. I absolutely love that Russia did use a personal translator, something that I really liked, that at Miss Earth, there were personal translators pre-decided before the top 8 started answering questions, which was not happening at another pageant around the same time. Let's say Miss Teen Universe, they didn't have a translator in place, and so it was very last minute and on the spot. Luis Porteles was being asked to translate the answers, which I felt like, oh my god, he was just put on the job on the spot. But I like that Miss Earth had this planned, and honestly, I have seen so many issues with translation at so many competitions. So the fact that Miss Earth probably didn't spend millions on production, but they managed to have personal translators so that the contestants were able to get their answers out and did not feel like lack of translators held them back from getting further in the competition. And that's the kind of priorities I would also have if I was running a pageant. And so I really liked that part. After the top 8 were done answering, it was then time for the shortlist to top 4. And for top 4, we had a common question. The countries that made it to top 4 were Iceland, Peru, USA, and of course, Australia. I will say I was surprised to see Russia not make it, but perhaps the message was lost in translation. That's probably the reason, in my opinion. Maybe there's something else that I'm not aware of, but yeah, I really missed Russia in top four. Now, the common question for the top four at Miss Earth 2024 was, how can you promote old traditions in a world obsessed with modern technology? I love this question, and every contestant had such a unique take on it. The first country to answer the question was Iceland. And first of all, they also had these little icebreaker, just like Miss Universe used to have in the Miss Earth competition this year. Like I said, the host was very fun and making the show very enjoyable. And so I liked how everybody got to showcase a little bit of their energy and a fun personal side to them before they answered the common question. And so Iceland was really cute, very excited to be there, and I loved that. Now, when Iceland started answering the question, I felt that with all the rushing that she was doing, I feel she probably forgot what the question was, in the sense that she only answered the first part of it, which is she only talked about how can you promote old traditions in the world. Her answer lacked any connection to the usage of modern technology to do so. And even though she personalized her answer by talking about the limited resources that they have in Iceland, what it did was eventually it took her away from what the question was, because she talked about how in Iceland they've been able to manage to preserve their old traditions with the limited resources they have. And so probably not so much technology is, I guess, what she was trying to say. But the question really wanted you to be able to combine the usage of modern technology, then stay away from it. And so I think Iceland missed the entirety of the question, if that's the right way to say it. And that is why I wasn't completely satisfied with her answer. The next country to answer the question was Australia. She was also so relatable during her icebreaker, because she talks about how she lost her voice that morning, and despite the fact that she couldn't speak, but she still showed up and even managed to win, which just shows that it doesn't matter what's going on if you have it in you to prove yourself and you really are the right person for the job. And so what Australia's answer was actually doing is she uses this 3-step process, which I noticed is being used by winning contestants in so many pageants, not just female, even male contestant pageants are using this formula. And so the 3-step formula that Australia uses is to have a narration, to have an interpretation of the narration, and then to be able to conclude and summarize. So what she did is she started off by talking about her personal background, what lends credibility to her answer, the degree that she is pursuing right now and what she's studying. Then she comes to the point of the story, and she talks about how in Australia they use storytelling to preserve old traditions. And so now there's an interpretation of why was she talking about what she's been studying. And then she goes on to conclude her answer, talking about how modern technology can be used to make it fun and entertaining, and through storytelling to impart knowledge to the next generation and the young generation, and preserve our old traditions. And she says this beautiful sentence in the end, and she said that is how we can teach our generation to be more sustainable in daily actions. That was such a strong ending, even though the chime just went off as she was kind of closing her answers. And throughout this, what I also love about Australia is that when she speaks, she has that calm and composed aura, and she makes you want to listen to her. And so just the overall charm of her personality definitely helps her win. The next country that came up to answer the question is Peru, and Peru used a translator. Now, my doubt in this situation is, how is the time being calculated? Because I do feel that the chime just didn't ring at all in the case of Peru, and I'm pretty sure her answer was longer than the time duration. At least it just felt really long to me. And then with the translation, what I was able to get as a summary of the answer is that my Peruvian ancestors have quite a few traditions. And she said that I would love to use social media to promote old traditions. Again, this answer felt a little bit like too basic for me personally, because I didn't quite understand the point of the narration. So some of the questions were trying to follow the 3-step process, but they only followed step 1 and 3. And if you miss out on the interpretation of what was the point of you personalizing that answer, and if you don't really take it anywhere, that can also be a very unfulfilling answer of sorts, and it's just not satisfactory to hear, because then I was hoping for something and you didn't give that to me. So I'm left wanting for more clarity as a judge and as an audience member. And so I felt that Peru could do better with just talking about some of the actual traditions that she's talking about. And besides social media, also have a more unique approach, because social media is something that I would expect even a teenager to say that they would use as a tool. But as the Miss Earth 2024, I want you to be able to go beyond social media. The next country that answered the same question was USA. Now, USA is an extremely good speaker, and I think she was able to, even during the icebreaker, be able to bring in her personal story. When the host asks her, I assume this is not your first time in Philippines, because USA in fact does come from a Filipino background, how she managed to be able to do quick storytelling even in those 10 seconds, and how she talks about what she grew up learning and how that has led her to Miss Earth, all in just the icebreaker. For anybody in the audience who perhaps doesn't know this part about her life, it was so quick and so smart. And so that wit in that moment is a skill that USA can definitely teach all of us. Now, USA started by saying that the indigenous people from where she comes from have said that if we understand the value of nature rather than constantly push forward with technology, we'll be able to preserve our planet. In a way, to summarize, that's what her answer was. She also gave a little bit of statistics and talked about a few environmental key terms that I felt personally is not something that everyone's familiar with. So just for onstage purposes, I do feel that even though you might have a lot of knowledge, in your onstage question or even your interview answers, you have to speak in a way that is understandable by a 10-year-old as well. And so inserting statistics is nice, but then if there's any part of your answer that I felt that I don't understand, to me, that's just going to lower your score. And what I noticed is USA ended up doing the same thing that Iceland did, which is she also talked about pushing away technology and being able to understand the value of nature, which is great and beautiful. But the point of the question was to be able to merge the usage of modern technology in a way that it's not our enemy, but rather our friend, and helps us protect the environment and preserve our traditions. And so I felt USA and Iceland made the same mistake and took the answer in a different direction than what the judges were really looking for. So that's my quick review of the top 8 and their speech, as well as their common question round at Miss Earth. Congratulations to Australia for a well-deserved victory at the competition, and I am so excited to see her reign and all the impact that she creates. If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, and also doesn't hurt to subscribe to my channel, because there's a lot more episodes coming up on interview strategies and how you can prepare better for your upcoming pageant. If interview is something that you struggle with, you definitely do want to check out my free masterclass and my online course for the same, which is linked in the description box below. With that being said, I love you guys so much, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye.